Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our High Notes this morning. For those of you who have attended our High Notes in the past, you know we do this once a month. And for those of you that don't, this is our fifth one for this year, but the program has been running for 6 years just by a different name. Really, with our High Notes, we like to just skip the cell, bring you people-centric strategies, and just get tactical. So today, I'm Carson McKinney. I forgot to introduce myself, and I am part of our marketing team. I'm usually on the back end of things, helping plan this program, and today I am here with our human capital management team, our director of HCM, Amanda Mayeski, and Bethany Reichert, our client relationship manager for HCM. So would you guys like to say anything else about what you do on our HCM team?
I think here lately, actually, we just had, we always have weekly implementation meetings, and we were really going over just some of our timeline with some projects, and it's like we're setting up a timekeeping piece or we're adding accruals. So this just seems like a really relevant topic right now. So it's like everyone is wanting some sort of feature either added or brand new, and we've got to implement a new policy for them. So very, very timely. So.
All right, so today we are talking about leave management, balancing PTO, flexible work schedules, remote work, and productivity. Oh, also, our High Notes for today is worth 1 professional development credit with SHRM. That is a new approval or accreditation for this program, and we're really excited about it. So we'll send out that access ID for your SHRM credit following today's program, also with the recording of today. So let's go ahead and get started. Did you guys know that 67% of employees would consider quitting their job, leaving their current company if their workplace became less flexible? That's 67%. I don't know about you, but that would be a huge loss to a business, losing that amount of people.
And with the employment at an all-time low.
How are you going to replace them?
Yeah, retaining talent is huge right now.
Yes.
So to hear that statistic makes me even think how much harder that we have to work at our company. And just to get a little, just so that everyone knows, higher level, we also provide staffing and recruiting services. And we definitely do start to see a more high volume of clients needing our services. Yes, because of summer season, but vacation season is on the brink of it for us. So even here at our company, everyone is trying to plan a vacation. I want to be gone a week. I want to go to sunny Florida, or I want to go out to another place and camp and hike and do all that good stuff. So we want to ensure that everyone gets breaks to get a refresh, step away from the daily grind of your job, and just be able just to relax a little bit. So today, hopefully some of the things we talk about, maybe you'll give you some new ideas and perspectives. And if you have questions, please feel to reach out.
Yeah, I'm actually headed to the beach this weekend, and thanks to my team and the support I have here, I'm not worried about it. I'm ready to go. So speaking of ready to go, let's go ahead and dive into some questions. I have some questions for them today. If you have questions along the way, you don't have to wait to the end. You can use your menu on the side to ask us questions, and we'll see those, or you can save them to the end as well. We'll open it back up to more questions for you. All right. So my first question that I have for you guys is, how is timekeeping or managing employee leave different today than it was even last year?
Well, and we'll talk about this, but we're seeing tremendous strides in just the development of the technology. I mean, it's incredible now from even just last year how much more advanced it is. And I think to look at that, you have to know, obviously we've been talking about unemployment's low, but what are these trends? So things like flex schedules, we've mentioned that, but they're on the rise. And that is primarily because of our workforce. The millennials are making a good chunk of that now, and it's just, they want more of a work-life balance, whereas before we didn't need flex schedules. It was 8 to 5 in the office, but work life is obviously very important for culture and retention. So I think with that comes people working at home. How do I manage my team if I've got employees at home or I've got employees on the road? And we really have to make sure that employers aren't losing out on money keeping track of those employees, but then also those employees are engaged. So just the increase in the efficiency of the technology just keeps developing. So things like geofencing, mobile punches, mobile apps, all of that, it's really shaping up.
So what are you seeing others do that are successful to meet the new needs or wants of employees today?
Well, I think, obviously I just mentioned it, our implementation meeting, people and employers in general are saying, I've been tracking this on a spreadsheet. How can we automate this process? My little buzzword, spreadsheet. If you're doing something on a spreadsheet, it's time to evaluate to automate the process.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that, time off is important, and being flexible with your team and managing that. And I know Beth mentioned it, but, a work at home policy, it's interesting in our industry, in our payroll vertical, where even some of our vendors, they have a lot of their own personal teams working from home.
Mm-hmm.
Even at higher level, we have recently started doing that too. And really for two things. One, finding talent is hard. And if, a member on our team who's just a rock star and something changed in their life, but they want to stay a member of higher level, we want to keep them as well as part of our team.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've also just kind of have seen that internally and kind of just making those changes. And I personally feel like the work at home policy can be successful.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for everyone, to say the least, but I think if you can find a happy balance, it's good for the employer and for the employee.
Yeah.
So
and I think embracing the change and knowing that you're going to retain your top talent if you allow for these things to happen.
Yeah, it goes back to that flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that time off is important.
Mm-hmm.
So is there such thing as a standard time off or best practices for PTO, what to offer?
I would say no. I've been doing this 8 years now, and I can say that I've never seen two policies alike from a client.
Mm-hmm.
This is a voluntary benefit. So how, an employer or company decides to put a plan together, it really just comes down to what makes sense for their company. So no, I really would not say that there is a particular rule or schedule to follow because it is a voluntary benefit. And at the end of the day, an employer is not required to offer the sort of type of plan or benefit, but many employers do to be competitive to find talent.
And I think when you're considering putting in these policies, and when we talk about best practices, I consult with a lot of small businesses, and a lot of them just opt to say, here's your unlimited PTO policy. And with that, people will take advantage of it, unfortunately. But maintaining and tracking and things like that with an unlimited policy is difficult. So our best advice is always to start small. If this is something new for you, start small and then grow. Test out the waters first. Don't just let your team have all the time off. Really start small and grow.
Yeah, and maybe if you can't offer the amount of PTO your team has suggested, or if you've taken suggestions from them through a survey or whatnot, maybe having those flexible work schedules or even opportunity to work from home certain number of hours a week could help supplement that time off policy.
Yeah, and even starting with paid holidays. I know a lot of employers will do some paid holidays, but not all, obviously depending on the industry, but Memorial Day weekends coming, compressed work weeks. I see some clients where they do the compressed work week Monday through Thursday, short day on Friday. I mean, a 4-day weekend feels like a vacation for me. So,
heck yes.
Keep in mind, exactly. Some of those unconventional things, it doesn't have to be a full week of vacation.
And it's the perception then of exactly like that. I'm like, because I enjoy a full week off, but I get a little stir crazy because, there's still calls or emails that possibly coming in. So with technology at our fingertips, it's really hard to kind of unplug 100%. Sometimes it doesn't matter if you're taking, now I get it. Maybe if you're out of the country, you're less attached, but at some point you're going to have connections back to the real world. So
true. You just can't resist.
Yeah, I know we can't. It is it's just the part of us, our culture piece of like, oh my God, I've got to know what's going on. But I agree. Yeah. A couple days here, a long weekend. Like we have a long weekend coming up with Memorial Day. So vacation in my mind too.
Great little break.
Exactly.
So what are the timekeeping logistics, if there are any, behind offering those flexible hours, compressed schedules, even just different work sites?
Well, and I had mentioned, and Amanda did too, how we're really working with a lot of different people on implementing some of these mobile features, right? I said that we're seeing all these advances and strides in this technology. Geofencing is, to me, it almost blows my mind every time we are implementing it and setting a client up, because we narrow it down to this exact radius to where these employees can clock in and out. Whether an employee's clocking in at home, putting that radius around their home, you want to make sure that your team is doing what they are saying they're doing. And I think that being able to set up that type of criteria in your automated timekeeping is very important. Also, things like if you have people on the road, construction workers come to mind. They have a punch. You can hover over it and see on Google Maps where they've clocked in and out. So these type of things are going to make sure that your team is where they are and not at McDonald's getting coffee or on the couch watching Netflix. I mean, maybe if they're working from home, but that's a whole nother part of this.
Multitask, right?
Right, exactly.
But are you really multitasking?
Yes. And then I think also whenever you're, obviously physical clocks, a lot of clients still use physical clocks, which is still fine. It still beats that piece of paper that you're sliding through the machine to get punched on, so are those clocks web-based? You can use a web-based, through a computer, it's the logistics of your company and what works best. So mobile's not going to work for everybody. Is it really, really neat and all the features that it has? Absolutely. But there's a whole slew of options that an employer can use to help keep track of that time.
All right. So what are some of the things that companies should consider before they go create new policies or update old ones, whether it's on time and attendance, whether it's putting in new PTO, things like this?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is, are you educating your team? Do they know exactly what benefit that they are getting? Because maybe are you considering to change your policy because you've got a couple employees asking for more benefit, but are they really using the benefit? So I think this goes back to having an automated product where you can run a report, see what time has been taken. I think that just kind of helps set yourself up for success. And does it work for their schedule? Like every company is different. Do you have a certain peak season? I mean, we definitely do here at higher level. We have different peak seasons. So there are times where it's all hands on deck. The calendar is blacked out. No one is taking off because it is a crucial time in our typical work life here at higher level. I think the other thing that comes to my mind is, really then what is the labor cost if you're looking to make this adjustment too? Are you looking to decrease your offering because of particular budget constraints? Or are you wanting to offer more? That sounds great to appease to your current workforce, but can you actually afford it though too? And the last thing that I think of from the HR perspective of it is if you are going to make these changes, you do want to make sure you provide 30-day notice to your employees just to have something in writing so they know of the change will be taking place. But I will say if you already have an automated timekeeping solution, just be cognizant of if you've got to make some sort of adjustments to coding or scripting that's behind the scenes that you may have to enlist tech support and, what is their timeline of turnaround of getting that implemented for you too.
And you had mentioned HR, and I think that this ultimately, when you're changing or you're putting a policy into place, it's all about communicating why this policy is changing when it goes into effect. If you have an intranet or some sort of communication like that, posting that out there, reminding them that they have PTO, reminding them that, hey, we want you to take some time off. Because ultimately, the better the communication, the happier the employer is going to be, because they're going to know that you're concerned about their time as well. So I do definitely recommend using an intranet or some product like that to get this stuff signed off on, tracking for auditing and compliance as well. So.
Yeah, and to that point on communication, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but from step one, even when you're just considering this, ask your team.
Write a
for
survey, and you said that
suggestions. Do
earlier.
a
Yeah,
survey.
survey.
And we do this every year, and we have discussions
the
on
data.
these topics.
Mm-hmm.
So that is really helpful, actually hearing what your team wants, and then finding out what you can offer,
Mm-hmm.
and then communicating that all the way through. And it's not a bad idea to also have those employees sign off on any policy changes as well, that they acknowledge it. And then I think also when you remind them, this is what we have to offer, it's telling them that you want them to use that PTO. Don't feel guilty about it. Take your time.
Right, exactly.
And before you do all this, if you have that policy in place, do an annual audit of your paid time off. Run some reports to see what kind of unpaid absences do I have? What kind of are people taking? Are they calling in sick a lot? Really evaluate maybe annually or every other year what policy you have in place to see if it's effective or if it needs to change because your workplace is changing.
Okay, so we're going to move into talking a little bit about the fun side of this, the compliance challenges. So when tracking employee time and attendance, what are some compliance challenges that you might face?
So we've kind of really skirted around the topic this whole time, but compliance is obviously, it's a little bit trickier, and I feel like now just the conversation, it's very heavy on, is this an exempt employee, non-exempt employee? We're seeing a lot of legislation changes and things like that. So it's always top of mind for us, obviously with our clients, but it needs to be for you as well. So some things like, if you're in a state that's requiring paid sick leave, right? It's California, Arizona, some of those coastal states are starting to implement those. How are you tracking that and making sure you're in compliance? Because if not, obviously there's fines for that type of thing. So making sure that that policy gets put into place, that you're staying on top of that legislation. Maternity leave, paternity leave, those are very hot topics right now. And I think that as we continue and as our makeup of our workforce changes, we're going to see more of a push for those type of paid leaves as well. And then we talk about flexible hours, flexible schedules and things like that. I think that Amanda talked about, communication, but really communicating expectations, what is a worked hour for you at home, and making sure you're paying that, because some of these employees may be overtime eligible, and are you paying them for the hours that they're truly working? So that does go back again to communication, but setting those standards in your policy and procedures as to what work looks like. Because you don't want to get into a lawsuit over I had unpaid overtime and things like that. So
right, and I think just again having an automated system where you have then these electronic time cards and true punches of individuals who are using the system. I would hate for an employer to be audited, or that there's a whistleblower and now Department of Labor gets involved, but you have the documentation and proof to help you in cases like that, unfortunately.
Yeah. And so we had kind of joked a little bit about breaks. Breaks is such a touchy topic for people. We definitely don't recommend auto breaks if you're already using automated timekeeping, especially lunches. You want to make sure your team's taking these lunches, because it's benefiting you and making sure these employees are taking them for compliance purposes. But then employees, they also can see their time cards and they know they're getting paid for what they worked for. So that it's also benefiting the employee as well for some of this stuff.
Yeah, on the lunches for a moment, even here, we kind of joke, don't eat at your desk, but it's important. I mean, even if you have to have that auto break set up, pay attention, make sure people are stepping away from their desk, and encouraging them to spend their lunch in a way where they're not working.
But how can you, I'm sorry, sitting at your desk with your lunch, how productive are you really? You
Right.
know, you're eating, you got your phone in the other hand because you're looking on Facebook,
Yeah.
but you're not really working. So.
No. And the couple times that I've tried to do it, then I have like salad dressing on my
Right.
shirt.
Exactly.
My keyboard's greasy. It's
Right.
step away from your desk to have lunch.
Granola
and
in your
have
chair.
Granola in your chair.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so kind of moving into the cost or when you don't have proper practices or efficient processes in place for managing your time and attendance, what can happen? How can that really affect your bottom line?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the biggest things, buddy punching.
Mhm.
You know, customers or clients or employers as a whole who may be using physical clocks, who might just have a machine that has a card. You've got your rack of cards, but Johnny's running 5 minutes late. He calls Bob, hey, can you clock me in real fast? It's the same concept of even in the web clock, sharing that personal information.
Mhm.
Hey, here's my password, here's my PIN. But where even just the hardware physical clock, you see more facial recognition, fingerprint, so biometric is huge right now. So I think, you know, that time theft is still relevant because there's, I mean, thousands of employers who use physical clocks, which is just fine. But what type of technology are you using? Not only, you know, as I mentioned, the buddy punching, but then, you know, human error if you're not using an automated solution. It's very easy to miskey on your calculator if you're totaling a time card and you turn that in for payroll, and you know, if that can definitely add up in a year's time. And one statistic for everyone as well. So according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, employees who are buddy punching for their friends or coworkers is an estimated cost to employers of $373 million a year. That is insane.
Crazy.
So to, again, invest into an automated timekeeping solution, whether it be web, mobile, physical clock, I highly recommend it. I know, you know, on occasion we'll get pushback from people, you know, if I am speaking to a new prospect and they, you know, let's say they've got 10 employees, but half of that staff, they are an hourly workforce. Okay, my next question is, how are you collecting their time? Oh, well, they'll just keep track of a timesheet. Well, are you really saving yourself the concept of, all right, I don't want to spend for timekeeping, but it's really going to cost an employer much more in the long run by not having some sort of automated process.
Right. It's a lot harder to catch somebody not working hours they're saying that they're working if you don't automate that process. I mean, IP restrictions, there's so many security measures now. Invest and then make your life easier, especially auditing and compliance as well.
All right, well, I feel like we kind of touched on it a little bit, but let's just get a little deeper about what companies really should be doing to better manage their time and attendance.
Well, I mean, we've already talked about it, but upgrade your technology, friends. If you are not and you're using a time card, you know, I'm going to write it out, or I'm going to use the old school punch, as Beth mentioned earlier. It's time to upgrade. There's so many different options when it comes to that sort of automated technology. We're more than happy to help discuss what those mean. But I mean, the results that you're going to get from it, of course, is you're going to have reduced labor costs. You're going to reduce your paper trail, reduce that manual labor and employee burnout, increase security and compliance, which I feel like we've hit on pretty good today. And ultimately, you know, just again, the workforce, we are seeing more millennial, and we want that employee engagement. So if we have that information at our fingertips, we can access it. We can request time off ourselves, see what benefit that we have available in our bucket to take. I think it really is, it's a win-win for employers and employees.
Yeah, I think the timekeeping is the power horse behind, or the technology is the power horse behind all of this. It streamlines the communication, the expectations, all of it, you know, but ultimately what works best, what's going to set you apart? How are you going to keep these employees? Because there's nothing more expensive than turnover. Yes, time and labor costs are expensive, but turnover, that's your most expensive.
It is, yeah, absolutely. It's so much, easier to retain your employees versus training new talent and starting all over. And I think it kind of helps bring some morale down too. Like, oh my gosh, I got to train another new employee. So,
and if you're the one, if you're on here today and you're the one doing your timekeeping and using a spreadsheet and trying to keep track of the timesheets that are turned into you, how much time is that taking you? And what would you rather be doing? Is that causing you to be burnt out?
Yep. So with a little bit of planning and proper technology, you can avoid the ripple effect of unexpected employee absences like we've kind of talked about today, and still give your team that summer relaxation that we all crave for, because it's right around the corner.
Literally, right?
I know. For Carson, not for myself. Right.
All right, so now it's time for any questions that you guys might have. So go ahead and use that menu bar on the side to submit your questions. While you do that, a couple of things. You'll notice also in that same menu bar, there's a section that says handouts, and I have attached 2 things for you. One of them is just a short infographic, quick tips on how to better manage your PTO, your vacation request, just basically busy season right now for people wanting to take some time off, regardless of what your technology is. The second one is, it's called the higher level difference. And it basically gives you an overview of how you can connect your timekeeping with your payroll and the rest of your HR processes. And what's the result of that? What happens when you do that? So check those out. You can download them. You can view them without downloading them too. Again, we will send today's recording out along with your SHRM credit for attendance. And then I just wanted to give a kudos, or what we do here is a high five to Amanda and Beth and their team and the knowledge that they have. They are really dedicated to keeping up on their continuous learning, what's going on right now. Things change so fast in the HR world, and they stay on top of it so that our clients don't have to stay on top of it, so that they can remind them what's going on and what's happening. And we're just dedicated to that. So that's another reason why we thought it was important to have a program like this, and also for the program to offer you credit for your continuing education. So I have a question for you guys, and you can put this in the chat as well while you're thinking about your questions. If you have other certifications, what are they? Because we are always trying to make sure that we're offering the best value through this program. So we're curious what certifications maybe outside the SHRM HR certification that you might have.
Yeah.
So let us know. And then our topic for next month's High Notes is on marijuana in the workplace. We have seen so much. It's huge. It speaks for itself. I don't need to say anything else. Don't miss it. It's probably going to be funny, but it's definitely going to make sure that we're actually bringing in an attorney, Sandberg Phoenix.
Yep.
And they're going to be actually talking about the law side of that as well, and to help you get prepared as things change, because we're going to see some rapid movement with this topic. All right. Give you another minute or so. Okay, well, thank you for joining us today. Thank you guys for your time and answering my questions. And everybody have a great Memorial weekend. We will see you in June.
Enjoy your time off.